what's going on, TTS Verse? I'm your host today, Justen Williams, back again. But this time we're doing a roundtable, and I got some friends with me. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my sound engineer, Mr. AK.
Hey, what's going on?
Also accompanied by the lovely Shelly.
Nice to meet you.
And once again, we have the amazing, the epitome of analyst anywhere, Mr. Eric Smith.
Good to be here, guys.
It's better to be with you, sir. All right, so I'm going to kick off this roundtable with a good old questionnaire. The NBA season is starting July 31st. Who do you guys feel is the Raptors' biggest problem right now?
I would think that, it's still the Bucks are the biggest issue. I mean, if we're talking in the Eastern Conference, because clearly you got to get through the East to worry about anybody else from the West. Right. But I think it's three teams in the East. It's Toronto, it's Milwaukee, and it's Boston. Those are the cream of the crop that I see in the East, and I probably would have said the same last year as well. The surprise team being Indiana and maybe Miami this year, but if we're looking for the three true contenders, I say Boston, Toronto, and Milwaukee.
I was going to say I second that. I can't see Miami coming out of nowhere. I mean, maybe, but I don't think Jimmy Butler can hold everything down, to be honest. But Shelly?
I agree. I think it would be the Bucks. I don't think there's any real threat to our team. We've outperformed all of them season over season, so I don't really feel that even like the 76ers or the Celtics are really an issue for us. The Bucks, I think, again, we were managed to get past them last season, but I think Giannis is going to come in with a new attitude and a streak of fire. So that's something we'd probably have to watch out for in the East, of course.
Maybe a little bit of chip on his shoulder too.
Possibly, yeah.
AK, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I love to be a contrarian, but I think I agree with you guys in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics. Maybe Philly could be a dark horse. I think they said they're going to start running Simmons at the power forward, so maybe that could change the dynamic of their team a little bit. But yeah, I still think it's going to be the Bucks. They've been a pretty dominant team in the regular season for the last couple of years. Giannis definitely has a chip on his shoulder, and I think he's ready to prove to the world that he's one of the best, if not the best, in the league.
I totally agree with that. Do you guys feel that the NBA players will be able to stay inside the Orlando bubble? I think we're going to start with Shelly this time.
I mean, I would hope you'd want to stay inside the bubble just for safety reasons. I know there's been a couple of issues along the way and a few people sneaking across the electric line. But I think for safety, I feel like our Raptors are fairly disciplined. It's a pretty disciplined team, and I think that they take a lot of the protocols very seriously. So I don't feel like that's going to be an issue. In terms of maybe some younger players across the league, those who don't feel like it's that as real of a threat might take advantage of it. But other than that, I don't think staying in the bubble is really going to be a huge issue if you are a dedicated player.
I was going to say, I saw that Chris Boucher kind of broke protocol in quarantine for the first 2 weeks of the pandemic. So hopefully he's not a repeat offender.
Right.
Mr. Eric Smith, what are you feeling?
I think for the most part that, the guys are going to stay within the rules. I think the toughest thing will be trying to maybe keep people out as opposed to players getting out themselves in terms of, wanting to invite a friend in or trying to bring in some outside food, some delivery because you're getting tired of the meals that are being made there. Or we've already seen clips of guys that are ordering in, other flat screen TVs and more technology to set up their gaming systems and whatnot, just to try and make it as feel as much as home as possible or whatnot. So I think that's kind of maybe the bigger issue is what comes in from the outside as opposed to what goes out from the inside, if that makes sense. That's to me the greatest challenge, especially for guys that end up being there for a conference finals, for a finals run, and you end up potentially being in that hotel room and in that bubble for 3 months. That is a heck of a long time to be without any friends or family.
Yeah,
I agree with that. AK, what is your opinion?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think people will leave the bubble, but definitely I don't know if they'll be able to follow the rules. I'm with Damian Lillard on this one. He was saying that even when there weren't that many restrictions, you didn't have guys following the rules. And now I think the document the NBA sent out was 113 pages of rules for being in the bubble. So, yeah, especially if you make it all the way to the end, I just can't see everybody staying that disciplined. But I guess we'll see, right? Like it's still a long ways to go before this season's going to be finished. And I have a feeling that there's going to be players that get tested positive during the way. So that's going to be interesting in terms of how they deal with that when the player is positive with the coronavirus during like the in-season play or in playoff play.
Yeah, as we all know, PG tested positive. So, or sorry, Russell Westbrook, not PG. Russell Westbrook. My bad. Breaking news. Anyways, so table. Who do you guys feel like is the best equipped team for the restart? Like, who do you think is going to come off like smoking hot? AK, do you want to take the first bounce of this one?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I actually do think the Raptors from the East will definitely be ready to play from the restart. And I say that because I've honestly, for the past couple of seasons, I think the Raptors play the best brand of basketball. Like, they're very team oriented. They play every possession. They're defensively minded. So, you know, as long as you can play defense, they'll keep you in games. So I definitely think the Raptors will be ready to play. And, you know, even though they got Kawhi Leonard last year, you know, they move the ball, they share the ball, you know. So I think that's definitely going to help. In the West, I'm sure the Lakers are going to be ready. You know, LeBron's got the experience. I got my money on my man Kawhi. You know, he's emotionless. He's all about the business. So I would say those three teams. And again, probably Milwaukee too. You know, they're focused after the disappointing end to their season last year. I'm sure they're coming in ready to play.
I totally agree with that. I second that motion. Shelly, what do you feel?
Absolutely. I think the Raptors are fairly well equipped. I mean, our whole team seems to be healthy, which is great. Outside of that, I think the Lakers, I think LeBron has a lot to prove this season, especially in the name of Kobe, perhaps. He might be really taking his game to the next level to really, you know, for the fans, for the Laker fans who lost a really great player. And Milwaukee, like I said, I think Giannis has something to prove as well. He didn't perform the way he wanted to last season, and I think this year he's going to try and show us otherwise. So absolutely, I think I agree with the same choices.
Brilliant. And Mr. Smith?
I have some questions about the Lakers only because of the point guard position specifically when we factor in, you know, the injury to Rondo and, of course, with Avery Bradley not being in the mix as well for the personal reasons that he decided not to play. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we all would agree that it's LeBron and it's Anthony Davis carrying the load, and they're going to make or break based on what those two do more than anything else. But still, I think that's a fairly large void potentially in their lineup that may take them a couple of games to get going. So I'll stay with the two teams in the East, and I know because it's a Toronto show. From a Raptors perspective, I think they are set up well for the restart because, as you know, Shelly and both AK noted, it's a team that had a chance to get healthy now over the last 4 months, and a team that was playing extremely well this season in spite of their lack of health and in spite of all the injuries. You know, Siakam, Van Vliet, Lowry, Ibaka, Powell, Thomas, probably another name or two there. But no, I'm just talking about guys that missed 10, 15, 20-plus games this year, and yet the Raptors still had the second best record in the East, third best record overall in the NBA. Now suddenly they're healthy, and they've got the championship pedigree, and they've got the chemistry from a long run last year. So that bodes well for them. The other team I'm intrigued by, and I'll say them again, is Boston. There's a lot of firepower there and a lot of young firepower with Tatum and Brown, let alone throw into the mix sort of young vets in Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward. So they're definitely, to me, a team that could make some real noise.
Do you and Boston's definitely an interesting team. Do you think that Tatum and Brown have learned enough through their playoff experiences over the past couple of seasons to take that next step to get over the hump?
That's a good question. I it's kind of the age old is what I'm trying to say. The age old adage of having to learn to lose or learn to win through losing before you're ready to take that next step. And it's almost like you have to have the torch passed to you at some point, and a couple of years of losing before you finally figure it out. I think they're ready, but are they ready to knock off Toronto? Are they ready to knock off Milwaukee? Are they truly a championship contender? That I'm not sure of yet. I just think if it's not this year, they're not going away. That to me, in my opinion, whether Giannis stays in Milwaukee or not, it'll be up to Toronto, up to Milwaukee, up to other teams in the East to keep a keen eye on Boston going forward, because they've got that youth and talented youth and guys in contracts where they've got such a solid core that Boston could very easily be the team to beat in short time if other clubs around the East aren't conscious of making sure that they continue to build true contenders and not allow the Celtics to sort of run away with things. Maybe I'm hyping up Boston too much, but I think that they're kind of right on the brink, ready to take that next step. If it's not this year, then very soon.
No, I definitely agree with that. Like I see the talent in Brown. I've always been a fan. Like he's another guy who plays both ways. Same with Tatum. So it'd be interesting to see. I agree with you that in the next few years, Boston will probably be that team that will be at the top of the East, and it's just a matter of will those guys take the next step, and one of them become that superstar and make the big plays down the stretch. And I think that those probably the same questions with the 76ers with Embiid and Simmons. Like, do they have the maturity and the mental toughness to take Philly to the next level?
Well, and I'm confident in what the Raptors have, even when you bring Philly into the mix, and clearly completely different players at both positions. But if, assuming Fred VanVleet's back long term, alongside Pascal Siakam, alongside an emerging Terrence Davis and Norm Powell and everything else, I like what the Raptors still have. And listen, there's no denying they're going to have to find complementary pieces as decisions are made, pro or con, regarding veterans like Ibaka, Gasol, even Lowry. But knowing that you're looking ahead to next year, even with Lowry still in the mix, and hopefully with at least one of Gasol or Ibaka, if not both, this team has still got a chance to be not only very good this season, but very good next year. And then hopefully that bodes well in terms of entering free agency next summer, let alone what that could possibly bring and future decisions for other players and whatever else. The Raptors have proven with their internal development over the years now that they are one of the best in the league at that. So I think if you're a Raptor fan, there's still reason to be optimistic regarding this team being a contender and a very good team, certainly a playoff team and a team ready to make noise for years to come.
Absolutely. So I won't put you on the spot. Talking about free agency in the next couple of years, what do you think the chances are with the Raptors getting Giannis?
Honestly, I have no idea. I know you said you put me on the spot, and I'm not trying to deke the question. I think that there are so many variables, so many factors that we can't even think of in terms of, the what if Milwaukee wins the championship. Does that, pull more of a draw for Giannis to stick around? Or does he say, no, I've won one here, so let me see if I can go do it somewhere else? I think the biggest, though, factor in all of this, that hence the reason none of us can probably give an answer on Giannis or anybody at this point, is how does COVID-19 and the pandemic and the lost revenue from the league, and thus as it reflects then the BRI, the basketball-related income, how does that affect the money that then is available to the players? Because the cap is sure to go down, money available thus is sure to go down, contracts are going to ultimately mean less. So now, if you were previously, and I don't want to get too technical here, but you guys are all basketball fans, if it was previously, and I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers here, you could sign for $200 million and 5 years with your existing team, but you get 1 year less and thus less money by going somewhere else. Now you can only get $160 million and 4 years with another club. Some guys might have said, well, yeah, but I'll make it up in sponsorship, and I'll make it up in taxes, and I'll make it up in this, and I just want to leave, so I'm willing to give up that extra money. Well, now you're giving up more extra money because that $200 million with your existing club might only be $175 now, and the $160 you might have got leaving somewhere else is now only $130. So you're talking about, and again, we're talking crazy numbers still. You're not going to be crying poor by any means, but I think that the effect of the pandemic, and as it relates to then, as I said, the BRI, the basketball-related income, is going to factor into a lot of guys' decisions now where maybe they choose to stay, to choose to get that extra year, to choose to get that extra money, and not leave stuff on the table more than ever before.
Yes. Absolutely.
I was thinking that same thing too. I was going to say with it's affecting everyone, all caps run, even NHL too, and probably MLS. And so we're going to do our last question right now for you guys. Last prediction, actually, and this is, who do you guys feel is going to be in the finals of this lovely, lovely season? Eric, we're going to start with you.
Listen, I guess I'll say, until you beat the champs, you got to show me first. And I'm going to answer it this way. At the beginning of last season, at the beginning of last year's playoffs, I think I would have told you, throw Toronto, Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Boston into a hat and pick out a team. I thought they all had an equal opportunity to go on a long run. And anybody that was a naysayer towards the Raptors, I was ready to defend Toronto and say, no, they've got a damn good chance. And they ultimately proved many, many critics wrong. I don't know that my opinion has changed this year, outside of maybe pulling Philly out of that hat. I'd say it's down to the three teams. Milwaukee is as good, if not better. Boston is as good, if not better. And Toronto is as good, if not better. They lost their best defender, and yet they're still first in the league in opponents' points per game and second in the league in opponents' field goal, or vice versa. I mean, we're talking about one of the top defenses in spite of losing their top defender. And as I noted before, how well they played in spite of all those injuries to multiple players missing 10, 15, 20 games. So they're a hell of a team still. They're the reigning champs. They've got that pedigree. So I'll give it to Toronto. Prove me wrong first. Let another team go out and prove me wrong and knock the Raps off their pedestal. And I think the Lakers are coming out in the West ahead of the Clippers. I think those are the two teams, and I give the Lakers the slight edge over the Clips.
Brilliant. Shelly, what do you think?
I agree completely about the East. Of course, I think the Raptors are going to come out hot and really take advantage of what they've learned last season to become the season's champions. So I definitely think the Raptors in the East. And in the West, I don't know. I have a feeling the Clippers might come out of the West for some reason. I think Kawhi also is coming out, a champion, and I think that he will leverage what he's learned, working with the Toronto Raptors and build his team to come out of the West.
Him and PG could probably do it. AK, what do you feel?
Yeah, I think if we were talking from the beginning of this season, I would have won with the Milwaukee Bucks. But again, with the whole COVID, the lockdown, just with teams being off, I'm going to go with the Raptors too. I just think the way that they're built, they got that championship pedigree. I think to play that short and little 8-game season before going to the playoffs, I think they'll be ready. I think they're going to be more ready than any of the other teams in the East. And in the West, I'm going with my man Kawhi. I think the Clippers going to be in that final. Then I think it'll make for a better storyline. The hero from last year playing his ex-team.
Oh, how the media will eat that up. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. This has been another Roundtable. I've been your host and anchor for this one, Justen Williams. And for the love of the six, let's connect.
Thank you for watching. Please click the like button and leave us a comment with your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications to see more engaging and interactive content. Toronto Talk Sports and more. For the love of the six, let's connect.